Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, we'll be discussing about DevOps most as interview question and answers. I'll be talking on different topics related to DevOps. So whether you are a beginner in DevOps and you're trying to learn DevOps, or you are an experienced individual who is already working in DevOps, we will be discussing the interview question and answers, which will be helping you out in your interviews. So without any further ado, let's get started. So let's look into question number one. So whenever you go for an interview, what happens is first the interviewer will introduce themselves and then they will ask you to tell about yourself. So if you're a fresher, you can tell about your learnings till now and what all projects you have worked on in DevOps. So you can tell all these things in brief, and you can also mention the name of the DevOps tools and technologies and also about your cloud experience. So if you have experience in one of the cloud, let's say AWS, you can tell them about your experience as well as wherever you have used DevOps in your learning till now. You can also focus more on your community engagements. Also, if you have any certifications, you can tell them about the certifications that you have done in the past. So it will leave a good impression on the interviewer. They will know that okay, you are working towards learning DevOps and you have done certain projects, as well as you are also taking part in the community. So let's say you are a part of AWS community builder or in some kind of group such as Women Who Code, or there are different groups which you can join nowadays. If you are part of any of these community engagements, or if you have contributed to open source, you can mention that as well, but you have to be brief in your in your introduction. Then if you are an experienced professional, so in that case, you can introduce yourself and you can tell that you are an experienced DevOps professional with around 2 to 4 years of experience or whatever experience you have, and you can in brief tell about the tools and technologies on which you have worked in the past. So you can mention about your CI/CD pipeline implementation. You can mention that you have worked on infrastructure as code using Terraform. You have worked on orchestration tools such as Kubernetes, and you have also worked on Jira admin or on any of the Confluence management. And you can also mention about the cloud on which you have worked on, let's say AWS, Azure, Google Cloud. So depending on your experience, you can give a short introduction about yourself. Then comes question number two. So in question number two, the interviewer might ask you that what are some of the DevOps tools that you have used in the past. So you can mention whatever tools you have used in the past. So let's say version control system and Git, SVN, Mercurial. So whatever version control system you have used, let's say you have used GitHub recently, you can mention about that. You have used Tortoise SVN, you can mention about that. You have used Bitbucket, you can tell about that. So you can mention about all the version control systems. Whichever version control system you are well versed with, whichever tools you think you know quite confidently, mention only those tools. Don't mention huge list of tools and the tools in which you are not confident. So some examples of tools which you can mention are for CI/CD, you could use Jenkins, GitLab CI/CD, Circle CI, Travis CI. You can also mention if you have done DevOps through Azure or AWS, you can also mention that as well. And then thirdly, you can tell about configuration management tools such as Ansible, Chef, Puppet, SaltStack. So you can mention about configuration management as well. Then containerization and orchestration, which is an important part of DevOps automation process. So you can mention about the containers, such as you have used Docker container, you have Dockerized the applications, Kubernetes, you have used Kubernetes for container orchestration. So you can mention all these tools. Then there comes another category of tools, which is infrastructure as code. So you can mention that as well. Then monitoring and logging, you can tell about Prometheus, ELK Stack, Grafana, Loki. So whatever tools you have some experience or hands on, do mention the name of those tools only. Don't mention the name of tools on which you don't have any uh, hands on experience, or you don't know much about the tools. Don't mention about those tools. Then there are several other tools which you can look into on this particular page. You can pause the video and you can look into the question number two, and you can go through the tools and then you can prepare yourself. Now let's look into question number three. So this was the question that was recently asked in one of the interviews which I was attending for DevOps. So they asked me, what are your favorite DevOps tools and why? So pick the DevOps tools in which you are most confident and in which you can answer the questions that are followed after you mention the name of the DevOps tools, which are your favorite ones. So some of the example favorite tools I have written as Jenkins, Docker, Kubernetes, Ansible, Git, Prometheus, Terraform, GitLab. So you can have your reasons, you can have your favorite DevOps tools which you can mention, and then you could give the reason like why these tools are your favorite tools, how they have helped in the past in your projects to automate the pipeline, to implement the CI/CD, continuous integration, continuous delivery, continuous deployment, how they have helped you to achieve that, and how it has help the team to automate the process. So you can, on that lines, you can try to understand the about these tools and you can give an explanation about these tools. Then now comes question number 4. So in question number 4 there could be a question where the interviewer can ask you, can you design a CI/CD pipeline for an application, and how much time is needed in the implementation? So whenever you are working as a DevOps engineer, or so one of the basic things or one of the things that you have to do in your day-to-day activities is designing and implementation of CI/CD pipelines. So make sure that you are very thorough with how to design a CI/CD pipeline. So I have created a video of complete CI/CD pipeline. You can go through that video. I will leave the link in the description box. It has complete flow starting from your Git integration and then Git Jenkins. Then the complete flow is mentioned in that particular video. So you can go through that video. So this could be a question where you can say that yes, I can design, and you can mention about the tools that you will be using in order to design your CI/CD pipeline and how much time, based on the requirement, based on the complexity of the application and dependencies, you will be able to decide that how much time you are going to take in order to deliver the CI/CD pipeline. So that is something you can answer, and you can pause this video over here and you can go through the points that I have mentioned on the slide. Now let's look into question number 5. So in question number 5, we are talking about, can you give examples of challenges that you have faced while working on DevOps projects? So while working on a DevOps projects, you will face a lot of challenges. So this is a kind of behavioral question also, because they are trying to judge you that whether you have actually worked on DevOps or not, and what challenges you have faced while you were working on DevOps projects. You can talk about the problems that you have faced in the past, and make sure that you include specific examples, which includes managing secrets, proposing cost optimized solution, infrastructure scaling, integration of legacy systems, containerization challenges. So there could be some containerization challenges as well. You can also mention about something about vulnerability scanning. So let's say you created a Docker image and the Docker image is vulnerable. How do you use different tools such as Trivy, Claire in order to implement vulnerability scanning, and how do you detect the vulnerability? So that is something, that is also an example which you can give. Other problems could be your like unpredictable traffic spikes affecting the performance. So you can tell the problem as well as you can give the tell them the solution which you gave in order to overcome the problem that you have faced in your past. So be prepared for this question as well with some good examples that you have faced in the past. Now comes question number 6. So question number 6 could be, what is the typical DevOps workflow? So when you are explaining what is a typical DevOps workflow, you can say that a typical DevOps workflow involves an iterative cycle of development, testing, deployment, and monitoring, emphasizing collaboration, automation, and continuous improvement. So the basic idea is that the processes that are being implemented in your system should be continuous improvement one, and they should continuously deploy and deliver the required code on your server. So there are some key stages in the typical DevOps workflow. You can explain those stages, and that is also shown uh, in this diagram. So the first stage is your plan stage. So in this stage, basically, you will be doing requirement gathering, define project objectives, and gather requirements. Then comes prioritization and planning stage. So this is the stage where tasks are being planned, priorities are being set, and resources are being allocated. Then comes a development phase. So in this phase, basically code development takes place. So developers write, review, and commit code changes into the version control systems. So let's say a developer has committed the code change to your GitHub repository. And then CI, that is continuous integration, automated integration of code changes into shared repository multiple times a day to detect integration issues early. So whenever a developer commits the changes, in the GitHub repository, automatically a tool such as, let's say, Jenkins or any other tool such as GitHub Actions, it will be able to determine that code changes are being done. So it should be capable enough to build your repository automatically, and it should tell stage at that stage only, it should tell that whether the code is being built successfully or not. If it is not built successfully, let's say some of the unit test cases have not passed successfully, the build will be a failed build one. So the developer can go back and check what is it that caused the build to fail, and they can fix the issue and they can come back. So again, this particular cycle can go on. So this helps in early detection of the issues. Then comes the build phase. In this, there is a continuous testing. So I talked about unit testing, integration testing. So there is some automated testing tools and the code quality tools such as SonarQube, which is also being integrated in this particular phase, which also results in building up the executables for the code base, or you can build up the images for your code. Then comes the deploy phase, which is continuous deployment phase. So automated deployment of tested and approved code changes into the different environments, let's say dev environment, development environment, or in staging environment, or in production environment takes place. So these are various stages. And then you will also be monitoring and logging, so you can monitor the application performance logs and system health in real time. So all these issues are being addressed afterwards, and for that you use different tools as well for monitoring and logging also. So that is a typical DevOps workflow, and you can explain this DevOps workflow as it is. Now the next question that comes is, what is Bash? So Bash stands for Born Again Shell. So Bash is basically a Unix shell for the GNU operating system. So Bash is a command line interpreter. It is a CLI basically that helps you to enter the commands and retrieve the information. It helps you to directly interact with your operating system, and basically the data you have entered, the user has entered, it executes the command and gives the output. So there is Bash shell scripting. You can do the shell scripting on your Bash shell. So that is also something that can be done, and it is an important question. Someone can ask you what is a Bash. Now let's look into question number 7, which is some of the Linux based command questions. So the first question is, how do you change ownership and permissions? What commands you will use? So to change ownership of a file or a directory, we will use chown command. And you can give the example of how you can use the chown command during your interview. Then comes the question, what command you will use to change the permissions for your file or directory? So in order to change the permissions, we use the command chmod. This command is used to grant permissions to the file or a directory. So basically chmod, this command, it stands for change mode, and it helps in changing the permissions. In the ch mode, permissions are represented by a 3-digit number in the numeric mode, so 755. This is the permissions. So if I talk about each digit, it corresponds to a specific set of permissions. So the first digit 7, it stands for user or owner permission. Then the second digit, it stands for group permission, and the last digit, which is 5, it again stands for others permissions. So there are different permissions which are being granted. And what does 7 means? So basically 421 is the total permissions, and 4 stands for read, 2 stands for write, and 1 stands for execute. So once you give someone all the 3 permissions, so 7 basically means the user or the owner has all the 3 permissions: read, write, execute. And when we add read, write, execute, that is 4 plus 2 plus 1, then it becomes 7. So that's why the first digit is 7. And then 5 is for the group permissions. So it controls what action users belonging to the group can perform on the file. So for that, 5 means that we are giving them the permissions of reading and executing. That is a permission that is given to them. So that's why 5. So this command, it changes permissions for a particular file, let's say script.sh, where the owner has read, write and execute permissions while others have read and execute permissions. Question number 8. Explain the command to search for a specific string within a file. So you can utilize grep command. You can enter the search term file name to search for a specific string within a file. For instance, grep example file.txt. So you can have a file with the name file.txt, and then you can search for this particular uh, string example, and grep command will help you in searching this particular string within a file. So this is a screenshot of an example. So let's say you are searching sample word inside your txt file. So it is saying that it is present in two places. It is present in two txt files, hello and hello2.txt files. So this is how the grep command works. So let's look into question number 9, which is what is a cron job? So cron job is a scheduled task or command that runs automatically at predetermined intervals on Unix-like operating system, including Linux. So basically, cron jobs are automatically running. They are scheduled tasks, and they are not supposed to be manually intervened. So someone doesn't has to manually intervene in order to run a cron job. And cron job are also an essential part of automating system tasks, enabling users to schedule routine jobs, backups, maintenance and other repetitive tasks. So they become very handy when you are automating your systems, and they are quite a a boon for the DevOps engineers when it comes to scheduling the cron jobs. And we open a file named as cron tab, and inside that file we mention the list of commands to schedule the cron jobs at regular intervals of time on our computer system. So I will just show you how you can schedule a cron job in the cron tab file. So let's go on the Linux system. So this is my Ubuntu machine, and on my Ubuntu machine I have the terminal open for us. On this terminal we will open the file name as cron tab. So this is the file, and I have already written a test command inside this file. And what this command means is, so this command, you can see that it has 32 asterisk asterisk 6. So this command, it basically means that this task which is kept, this shell script which is kept weekly underscore task dot sh, which is kept under slash user slash bin, would be executed at 2:30 a.m. every Saturday. So how is that decided? So this 30, it represents minute of the day. 30 is the minute, 2 is the hour, so it says 2:30, and then the next asterisk, it represents the day of the month. Since we have not specified any particular day, so it will be executed every. Then the next asterisk, it implies the month. So let's say January, February, March. That also we have not specified, so that means every. And then 6, it stands for Saturday. So that means this weekly underscore task dot sh will be executed at 2:30 every Saturday. So that is what this particular line actually means. And we have written this particular line inside the file called cron tab. So that is how you write your cron jobs. Thank you guys. I hope you enjoyed today's video and this video was informative for you. Today we discussed 10 DevOps interview question and answers. I have a lot of more interview question and answers which are generally asked in DevOps interviews. So those question and answers are being developed after a lot of research. So stay tuned, and I will be making next part of this video soon. So please subscribe to our channel and give it a thumbs up. Thank you. Bye bye.